In July, my 3 best friends and I made plans for a vacation to Miami. Were all at the time just finishing our first year of college and excited for our first big trip. Together, the 4 of us, all girls, had been talking about this trip for months, daydreaming about exploring the city, visiting famous sites, and enjoying the local food. Even though we had plenty of time to get everything ready, we ended up waiting until the last minute to book our flights and Airbnb, so we finally started looking for a place in May, which wasn't the best timing. If you've ever been to Miami, you know it's hard to find something affordable and in a good location during the summer. We spent days scrolling through different websites, checking out dozens of options, but most were either too expensive or too far from the city center. It felt like every good spot was booked and everything left was way out of our budget. Then one of my friends finally found a nice studio apartment near the Ocean Drive, a busy tourist area full of shops and restaurants. The studio was on a narrow street that crossed the main Rumbler, so it wasn't much crowded. We had to walk about to reach the quieter, more run-down end of the street where the apartment was located. Even though it seemed a bit less lively, we didn't mind because the building felt safe to enter. You had to unlock the main front door, which opened to the street. After that, we had to take the stairs to the second floor, where there was another door that needed a key. This door led to 3 apartments, and we had a 3rd key for our own place. The door to our apartment didn't have a handle on the outside, so if we forgot our keys, we would be locked out. The balcony door was the same. There was no handle on the outside, and it could only be opened from the inside. Now, it may seem like a lot of details, but it's important for what happens next. The day we checked, and we were really excited, even though we were completely exhausted from traveling for hours. Despite being tired, we decided to relax and went to the balcony. The balcony next to ours belonged to our neighbors, a group of guys from Texas who we met for the first time. They had been quite loud during our stay, but we didn't think much of it. Just to give you more context, our apartment was arranged like this. The front door opened into the main room, where 2 of my friends were sleeping. The bed was on the left, and at the end of the room was the living area, which also served as a cooking area and bedroom, where my 3rd friend and I were sleeping. We stayed there for nights. As young women, our daily routine was pretty simple. We would go clubbing every night, come back home around 5 a.m., crash in our beds, and wake up at 5 a.m. During the day, we explored the city until p.m., then got ready to do it all over again. Our first 3 nights were great because we had some male friends in Miami, and we met up with them, which was a lot of fun. But the 4th night was really creepy. We got home around 5 a.m. and chatted with my friends for another hour, and finally fell asleep. By at about, my friend who was sleeping with me in the living room and had sleep paralysis suddenly woke up because she felt something tickling her ankle. Confused and scared, she opened her eyes and saw a figure crouching at the end of the bed. The person had their hand on her ankle as if they were searching for something under the bed. The room was dim, and she could hardly believe what she was seeing, which made her feel even more frightened. So she thought she was having sleep paralysis again, but the fear made her sit up in bed and shout, "What the heck now? This is unusual during sleep paralysis, since your muscles usually feel numb." Her shouting woke me up, and I saw the guy at the end of the bed 2. The guy got scared, quickly stood up, stared at us with wide eyes, and then tiptoed away. He walked right past the bed where my friends were sound asleep, completely unaware, and slipped out through the front door. My friend and I were in shock and stayed awake for a long time, whispering about what had just happened and trying to make sense of it. Eventually we decided to wake up the other girls and told them everything, but we never figured out how this guy got into our apartment. He didn't take anything, even though we had carelessly left our credit cards, IDs, phones, and cash on the table, all in plain sight. The only thing was that we didn't lock the front door that night, thinking we were safe, and normally no one should have been able to open it since there was no handle. So it made us wonder if he had a key or somehow managed to get in without one. We decided not to talk to the police about it because we were afraid they might say it was our fault for not locking the door properly. We also didn't tell the landlord for the same reason, plus we didn't want to ruin our last day there. But we tried to contact our neighbors, the Italian guys, so we went to their apartment and knocked on their door, but they never answered. Looking back, we definitely should have done something about it and should not have stayed there for another minute, but I guess we were too young to think clearly. We could never figure out what the guy wanted or what he was looking for under the bed. None of this makes sense, to be honest. Why would someone go into an apartment uninvited at 5 a.m. to look for something while the people inside asleep? I guess we'll never know.